Welcome to SwarmCast, the marketing hive for pest control pros from coast to coast. If you're tired of your competition bugging you and want to grow your business like a well-built colony, you're in the right place. Each episode, we'll break down the latest marketing trends, expert insights, and proven strategies to help you exterminate the competition and keep your phones buzzing. So strap in, pest bosses. It's time to swarm the market and take your business to the next level. This is SwarmCast.
Welcome to the SwarmCast. Today we have a special guest, Ka Tsu. He represents a company called Avoca. I met him at Pest World, actually, AZPPO, and he is one of those guys that is talking about AI, implementing it, and using a product for inbound and outbound call scenarios. So we're here to talk to him about everything about this topic, because a lot of people are getting calls about these kind of solutions and they're half baked, or they've only been in the market for a couple months. How long has this been out there for us, Kyle?
Well, Avoca's been around for about 5 years. It was founded by two, brilliant guys, Tyson and Apurva, who met at MIT, and they were, rocking the AI lab for the last 10 years. So before it was even cool to talk about AI, they were knee deep in it.
That's awesome. So we're not talking about these guys just picked up AI last year and they're just throwing something together. They've been in this space. They're leaders in this space.
Yeah, absolutely. And then in addition to that, they're surrounding themselves with the smartest team I've ever been with. Right. These guys, the pedigree of the guys that I work with are all, MIT, Harvard, Yale, Salesforce, Amazon, all these past, brilliant, people. They're all in it to make sure this happens and we do well.
Yeah, these guys, they're leaders, and you're no newbie. I looked at your LinkedIn profile. I'll just read off some of the titles: a SaaS software leader, ex Service Titan, ex Field Routes, Service Pro. I mean, you've been in this industry for a long time. In fact, when I brought you up with one of our mastermind members out of Florida, she said, "Oh yeah, I know him." So it's not like people don't know you or where you've come from. So that creates some trust. And PCOs are looking for solutions. We've talked about AI being a cost savings. So let's talk about cost savings. If we have a solution like this, and how long does it take to integrate something like this? Have you noticed?
Literally no time. I mean, I think a lot of PCOs are always kind of skittish about implementation and whatnot, because I think they've all experienced that time it takes to move from one CRM to another. This is a totally new ball game, right? Literally, the investment time from start to finish, actual time, is probably maybe 3 hours total.
Wow.
The first hour is going to be just asking about the customers, the business information, right? And then it takes us a few days to build that bot. And then the last 2 hours is actually them. It's just depending on how much they want to dedicate to testing that AI bot or before turning it live, right? We're essentially building a child, right? So as we, once we build the child or a baby, as you want to say, and it gets more and more mature, because it does learn on its own, right? It's going to just take off. So
no, that's great. I mean, anytime you pull an employee in, you have to train them anyway, right? You got to bring them up to speed with your culture, what you sell, all that stuff. And you're saying within 3 hours and working with, you can have this operational working where it's doing dips into your CRM.
And 3 hours of the actual time invested by the PCO, right? Over time, I would say it would take generally about 2 weeks to 3 weeks to fully get it ramped up. But actually, investment time is about 3 hours.
So there's some commitment from the PCO to do their work within the system. They're getting help. There's a certain amount of time. I mean, you think about the time that they usually invest in an employee to do this kind of stuff would be a lot more than that anyway.
Yeah.
And what I like about this, the first time I heard about the concept of having an inbound or an outbound agent, what was cool is it gets smarter with every call.
Exactly.
I was talking to somebody like, oh, I don't like the idea of replacing a real person with an agent. Well, I'll tell you right now, if I could replace all the people I call in healthcare to make an appointment with an agent, I'd do it in a heartbeat. Like I have to schedule an appointment today, and I know if I get on a phone call, it's going to be 10 minutes before I can schedule an appointment that could be done in 30 seconds with an agent.
Yeah.
So let's just talk about, hey, we're not talking about healthcare. We're talking about pest control. Maybe they should, talk to you. I could give you half the hospitals here in Tucson and have you fix those problems right now because they need to be fixed. And it's just because customer service doesn't exist a lot of times. And I'm not talking bad about the healthcare industry, but look at the reviews. They tell the story. Here, we could tie this thing in and somebody could change their pest control appointment pretty quick. Why? Because it does what? It does a dip into that CRM or SaaS platform or whatever we're using and can do those updates. Right now, you played an audio file for me, and we're going to share this in the comments section of this YouTube video that you can download and listen to. And it's like Ka is trying to spoof the AI chatbot into doing something and confuse it, and it works its way around. Smart enough to do that. What other things can it do? Tell me, what are you seeing the impact? We're talking about big players are already implementing and integrating this tech already. So this is not bleeding edge technology at this point. You said 5 years.
Yeah.
What's the impact? What's the impact?
So, within the last 5 years, Avoca's, has been deeply rooted in the HVAC, plumbing, and electric space, right? And, within those years, we've onboarded close to, 300 to 400 customers, right? And they've been, those essentially would be the guinea pigs in comparison to, the pest control operators out there that are listening to this podcast, right? We've gone through, in the last 5 years, it's like night and day in the technology. The voices are better, the speed is better, the responses are better. As these, LLMs get better and better, we're going to continue to ride that wave as well. And these are going to be, more and more realistic. I was just reading, an article about AI, where AI is now, starting to build relationships. Now you're going to start being able to build relationships because it's going to remember without reminding itself. It doesn't start over anymore, right? Not sure if that's something we want to do from a call center perspective, but the technology is going to be out there. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, I could just imagine, like, one of the things that we talked about at the conference is, hey, you can always hit a button and get out of that AI scenario if you want to talk to a real person.
Yeah.
I think that was cool. There's a fail safe if somebody was like kind of squeamish about, hey, do I really want to do this? Maybe I'll just try it after hours. I don't want to pay somebody to have to answer phones after hours anymore. Now you have a 24/7 scenario when somebody's not in the office that can handle it. That'd be a great test.
Yeah. Well, so what we found is a lot of PCOs, their after hours answering is just an answer machine, right? And once they've implemented something like Avoca, their eyes open up because they don't even realize how many calls that they actually were missing, because they might only think that, oh, I get like 5 or 6 calls a night on an answer machine. That's 5 or 6 calls that left a message, but you might have missed 10 because they might have called and just hung up as soon as they heard an answer machine. So the amount of time that it can save a customer from calling anyone else, and amount of revenue that it could grow for a pest control operator, because rats, mice, they don't know night and day. They don't have working hours. When they want to run across the kitchen or wherever, those the homeowner is going to call. They're going to call immediately, and they're going to call no matter what time of night.
That's exactly right. When you have an emergency and we're in that service work, they're going to call when they need somebody.
Yeah.
And so the thought of missing calls after hours, you're missing business opportunities for sure. And so as far as when does this start having a cost benefit? What size of a PCO are we talking about? Are we talking about, is this good for a one truck guy, or are we talking somebody has to have 5 trucks before this starts making sense?
It makes sense from a one truck guy to the large enterprise guys, right? We've got the top players in the industry. If you look at the PCT 100, we've got the top ones in there. From a one-man operator, you're trying to go and kill the bugs, answer your phones when it rings while you have the pack on and your bait block in the other hand. I mean, or you're talking to your customer. I mean, that it just doesn't make sense, right? You're in a crawl space. You can't really give your customer the attention that they need. And all the way up until you're an enterprise. You've got 20 or 30 CSRs in your office, right? But if you're that big, and let's say you have 25 calls come in at one time, and you only have 20 CSRs, that's 5 calls that you're missing. That 5 opportunities for future sales, or just accommodating your customers, right? All that adds up real quick. Whether it's during the day or even at night.
That's scalability for big players. That's awesome. But it's all the way down to the one-man show where, hey, he's doing the work.
Yeah.
Who's answering the phone?
Yeah.
And if it's smart enough to schedule the appointment and, ask some generalized questions and work through a matrix, which when I heard that call, I was like, wow, this is amazing. It's able to do all of that. Now, I'm not saying it can do everything a human can do yet, but imagine if that thing can remember in the future, hey, I talked to, Ka 2 months ago, and he was having a problem with this. And now I can come back and say, are we still having an issue with that? Or do we need to send somebody back out? All kinds of different scenarios are coming into play. I know we're not there yet, but the ability to do what it's doing right now, that's impressive. That's impressive.
Yeah. Inbound calls, called responder. We also have something what we call coach as well, Wyatt, right? And I'm really excited about this, right? So what coach is the ability to listen to all your incoming and outgoing calls, right? And be able to have an AI listen to them and grade them within minutes of each and every call, right?
Wow.
Based on a custom rubric, right? So what does that really do? I mean, it gamifies the CSR world, right? Because now you've got a group of CSRs that are getting low scores, high scores. Well, the low score wants to be as good as the high scores, right? So they're looking at their scores. What can I do differently, right? They have got their own dashboard. They can say, hey, oh my God, I need to be saying this. I need to speak a little slower. I need to be more empathetic. Versus the high scores, what's their secret sauce to kind of share, right? And then from a management perspective, there's a dashboard where they can review and sit down with them with each and every CSR and be like, hey, I understand what's going on with all your calls, not just the few that you have to listen to. So the technology from an AI perspective is getting amazing for sure.
Absolutely. Now, one of the guys that was down there actually had a role play AI. AI can sell more, as I believe what the name of that was. And I'm going to get them on the podcast as well. But there could be a handoff, right? Where let's just say you're like, hey, we listened to 100 calls. This guy's terrible on the phone. Or, now you can do a handoff from that person to let's get you trained up. How do you overcome this objection? How do you get past, asking for the business? That kind of stuff. That's beautiful. I mean, we live in a really good time frame where this enablement is going to allow us to take let's just say that we were spending 15 hours a month doing this kind of work. Now we can just move that person that's doing that work to something else.
Yeah.
They can be available if somebody's going to, opt out and want to talk to somebody. And I have two people in the office. There's a ton of other things I can have them doing.
Yeah.
Uh, there's plenty of work to be done for sure.
Well, this kind of technology helps prioritize, what's most important to a PCO, right? I mean, is the most important for them to answer each and every call, right? Or is it more important to, pick the battles, let the AI answer those calls, and then selectively say, hey, you know what, that's a big opportunity. I need to make sure make sure I take care of that, or hey, I need to step away, for a lunch or a meeting, right? A lot of times internal meetings are really rough, tough to do when we don't have anyone answering, especially during the day.
Mm-hmm. 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 Is there any studies that you got that say if somebody doesn't pick up the phone and call back within a certain time, that leads dead? Do we have any
Yeah.
studies on that kind of thing that you've noted?
Yeah. So from a picking up perspective, if you don't pick up the phone and and it's more than 15 seconds, it starts dramatically decreasing that possibility of booking that account. And then from a callback basis, as long if you call back within a few minutes of them hanging up, or maybe the AI identified it as a bookable call that wasn't booked, then you're going to have a bigger, higher attainment, right? It really, the faster you get back to them, the better.
Absolutely. Yeah, I remember looking at lead statistics in the insurance business, and if it wasn't back in, you're not calling somebody back in 5 minutes, the drop off was just significant. And I think with pest control, they want to answer that problem now. They're not going to wait. They're probably going to set that phone down, and if they don't get a call back within minutes, it's dead. And if it's not answered, they're already making I would say, a choice. They're making a choice that somebody to answer that call for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. Well, they're just going to call someone else. I mean, the information for other competitors, after they call you, or just a few clicks on their phone or their computer. So they're just going to hang up and just call someone else for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Cool. So you're seeing this stuff getting ramped up for a lot of different big names out there. You mentioned one in my own backyard that lit up with it, and I'm like, hey, that's pretty impressive, right? Everybody's like jumping on this thing, and there's a ton of people out there. I'm getting calls from all kinds of people that want to get involved with what I'm doing, right? And I along those lines, there's just so many things that they're not even equivalent. So tell me about some of the difference between what you guys are offering and what people are trying to come in with that you see. A lot of people are trying to get into this space.
Yeah, yeah. So a couple of things, right? I mean, first off, this is we've got a dedicated team just for doing this, right? A lot of companies I've seen are trying to get in the space, but that's not really what that their core competency is, right? The team that Tyson and Apurva has built they're all AI every day, all day, right? Voices in particular, right? The other thing is a lot of these guys have no idea, what pest control is, right? They don't understand. They're just saying, hey, we can answer your calls, but if you don't understand the business of pest control, how are you going to be able to answer my calls? And that's a lot of trust that you're throwing on someone that's just trying to learn as you tell them, right? Versus where Avoca is, they've hired the best talent, right? They've hired myself, right? I've been in the industry for 20 years, and I'm able to make sure that what they develop has the PCO in mind, right? They're not just guessing. They're coming to me. We're talking about it, and we're developing it together. And then at the same time, we've got the history. We've got 5 years right now, maybe working on 6. Doing it in this space.
It's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, there's been like I'm just going back to my use of something. Like the first time somebody reached out to me was called Air.io, and they were out of Scottsdale, and when I was listening to the AI agent, there was massive delays, and I was like, yeah, this is lame, and I hung up, right? I went through their demo. That there's no delays really at this point. I forget what is that called technically. What is the delay that we're hearing?
Latency.
Latency. There we go.
Yeah.
So the ability to answer the customer when they're asking a question, when you started identifying, like when we were running through that sample file that you can listen to in the comments here, it is you were talking about, hey, this is what kind of bug problem I'm having, and it's answering back pretty quick.
Yeah.
And I can only imagine that there's a pest database or something that when somebody's describing it, it's able to say, oh, okay, that's this kind of pest.
Yeah. Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So, one of the big things that I feel like has been important is that, hey, there's a lot of customers have no idea what the bug is. They just see it's a bug. So they describe the bug, right? And it's really up to the CSR or the AI agent to figure out what they're talking about, right? Of course, you don't really know until you show up, but based on the description, AI has the intelligence enough to say, hey, this is the bug. This is possibly the bug of what you're describing, right? So
Yeah.
it can interpret. It's just not, oh, you said ant, okay, that's what it thinks, but it's context of what is being described in the conversation.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, these things are coming down. What's the biggest, I would say, hard thing for the business owner to get over if they're going to go, hey, you know what? I'm going to give this a shot. What is it they're going to have to get over that you see?
I feel like it's just being acceptance of this new AI, technology, right? I think it's kind of like, in my career, I've tried to sell, I've tried to sell people on computers years ago, right? And making that big movement from, these note cards that they had back in the day to keep their schedule straight to moving a computer was a big jump, right? And now I feel like right now, they've been having a CSR answer the calls. They've had, a voicemail answer the calls after hours. And it's like, hey, are you going to let a computer answer those calls? That's kind of the big jump. It's an acceptance of that, right? And I feel like if you look at the technology curve, there's the early adopters and late adopters, right? And I feel like we're in that late to early adopting phase right now, right? I think there's still some, a lot of people that are taking it on. A lot of the younger generation is taking definitely more accepting of it. But then as the baby boomers get pushed out, I think it's going to just be a norm that everyone's going to take, they're going to expect it.
Absolutely. I mean, I think we're already seeing the industry in pest control. We see a lot. It's already happening with SMS. Everybody expects SMS, right? You got an appointment scheduled. You're going to get an SMS from your doctor. You're going to get an SMS from your pest control tech. I think that a combination thereof is people want service quicker.
Yeah.
They want to get to the point. They don't have a whole lot of time. Like I said on this call already, if I could skip the human being on my healthcare and getting it scheduled, I would do it in a heartbeat.
Right.
Right. And when I'm using their app and downloading it, and they're telling me to call the office, I'm like, what is it that I need to talk to a human being to schedule an appointment with my doctor? And same thing with pest control. I'm not sure. I mean, I don't consider myself young, cop, but I like convenience. And I think that's what most people want. Let's get there quicker.
Well, I think with, in the industry that we're in, not everyone has the luxury to be able to do, personal calls, to the pest control companies, during the day. Right. So to be able to have that, 24-hour, 7 days a week, opportunity to, call my pest control company, that I think that is amazing to a lot of people that just may not have that chance. Right. And actually talk to someone, schedule someone, answer the questions that they have. Right. take care of, those customers that, you know, he or she may not be able to, get on a computer, right? I mean, it's, there's still some people out there, believe it or not, that are in that phase.
It's true, but I think that the main adoption, it's here, it's coming. I mean, I'm sure you're getting calls from agents like on the outbound. I know I get those calls, and I typically don't give them the time of day. Meaning, if I don't know who they are or why they're calling, I won't be sold. It's not yet in that fashion, but for customer service and inbound, absolutely. So I think a lot of it just comes down to level of comfort. And
Yep.
then obviously the business owner is going, okay, what is this going to cost me? Of course, we can get better at our calls, training. Maybe we can get away with not having so many people. Paying people after hours is a big deal. I mean, this happens with the service industry, right? Somebody
Yep.
has to answer that phone. That seems like low hanging fruit. Talk to me about cost a little bit. If you're a one truck Chuck and you need something like this, you're either going to outsource it to somebody that's maybe out of the country that's going to be trained to answer your calls, or you might think about doing this. Talk to us about that cost a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, there's two things. It's not just only cost; it's also they need to take into consideration, you know, uh, you know, consistency, right? A lot of these call centers, they like you said, they hire a lot of these people from outside the country that, listen, I'm first generation, from China, right? But at the same time, a lot of these outbound call centers, they have people that might have some foreign accents, right? And even then, those people that you get trained on for your business, they may be there for a couple of months and then they're out again, and then they're constantly having this flip of this training, that are answering your calls. So the consistency is really getting tougher and tougher from the actual physical call center. But then again, from with the AI, the prices, you're looking at roughly about $800 for 1,000 minutes, right? And that's about 300 calls. So for a small one-man operator, they can't pay anyone $800 to be able to sit in their seat in their office. There's just no way. Full time, 24/7, right?
Yeah, even VAs, virtual assistants are more than that. Curious. I mean, obviously they can do more in different things. So it really depends what you're utilizing them for.
Yeah.
But for somebody just to do that job of answering the phone, scheduling appointments, and so forth, recording call quality, you said the rubric or the decision
Rubric.
tree.
Yep.
Yeah. That's pretty intense and real stuff. And I know they're going to keep on adding more things to this mix. It'll be interesting when it can also do. We haven't talked about the outbound for a moment. What kind
Yeah.
of outbound stuff are you adding as well? Is there outbound things that you guys are doing?
Yeah. So, we're still in beta, but we are, testing it with a handful of companies, as far as being able to do outbound, NPS score calls, right? Outbound scheduling services, right? Outbound collection calls. I mean, the sky's the limit as far as outbound capabilities goes, right? Once we've got this nailed down, you can fully customize. You can tell it how you want it. Want it to what it wanted to say, the data that you want it to get back, and you can call as many as you want within seconds, right? It's kind of amazing. Like the time that I've been with this company, and now is just what they've developed and how fast they're doing it is astronomically crazy.
I'm thinking about just some of the challenges that business owners have, PCOs, that let's just say somebody doesn't show up to do a route. Now you got to have somebody make that call for all those route people, which that could be a one button click.
Yeah.
Either I'm not sure how you'd train it to hand off maybe the route, or might notify, via text or call saying, hey, your usually scheduled tech won't be there, but those are the kind of things that would be tremendously helpful to the back office that costs a lot.
Yeah.
You know, are you guys handling solutions like that as well?
Yeah. So text messaging is another big thing that we're getting close to releasing as well. I mean, it's there's so many things in the works that we are going to be basically all things to anything that a CSR can do, right? If the CSR can do it, Avoca can do it as well.
It's awesome, man. It's I can't wait to see where you guys come in the next 6 months when we're sitting there talking at Pest World. I know we're going to have you at our next intensive. I'll be dropping those dates as well. We'll have you speaking on some of these topics. This will be great. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. No, I'm excited. I'm excited what you're doing, Wyatt, with Swarm. It's going to be amazing. You're going to set the world on fire for sure.
Yeah, it's that peer group. We have a great peer group. I'm so glad we ran into you at AZPPO. And then, when we started talking about this, like, man, it's just refreshing to have somebody in the industry like yourself that's, knows this tech. It's not something that we're just, oh, here, look at the next shiny thing we got going on. This is going to change the industry. And whether, I'm not sure who's all going to be listening to this podcast, but whoever's listening to this, here's an opportunity for you to talk to somebody that's very knowledgeable about technology, about the AI space, and what's going on here. And it's not just theory anymore. This is being implemented now. It's been being implemented. And I think here's an opportunity for the pest control space to catch up. And there's just so many different things, not only the cost savings side, but also enablement of, there's a lot of struggling pest control companies that could really use a solution like this. And if you're listening to this, you can reach out to Ka. He's going to help you out. It'd be good to demo through it, see how it works. You're going to be amazed. What are your final thoughts, Ka?
Yeah, I think the pest control industry is in for some big surprises, right? I mean, the AI revolution and development is going crazy. Like it's tough for me to keep up with what's going on. Like I try to watch and look at all these latest developments in the trades, and it's moving so fast that I can't even keep up. I wish, and which is a great thing, right? I mean, I think it's going to be, help the industry run better, be better, and ultimately, be more profitable.
We're trying to increase the profit, but also keeping our cultures intact as well. So this is enablement to help us compete, and, when we talk about the technologies that are coming down, here's a very good use case study for enabling the pest control industry. And it's predominant, we have a lot of people that are just getting started in this industry. These are the kind of tools that can make it easier to get into it and sustain a business. Because a lot of people will fail. It's not an easy business, is it? I mean, it really takes some energy and effort. And with tools like these, this is going to really help you compete. No, by the way, that is New York City behind Ka. That's not a fake background. That camera keeps tracking them, but that is a real New York City back there. And we're looking forward to having more conversations. And I think, we'll be talking again in the next quarter. I want to hear some of the stories. I know we're not able to, really talk about the specific companies, but there's some big companies that are using this, and they're not just trying it.
Yeah.
This is making a big difference on those bottom line.
Yep, absolutely. We've got some. I've got some great testimonials. I've got some great stories for sure. I'm excited to share those with you.
And I'm going to challenge you. We have a mastermind member, I think, that's ready to go. Like they're ready to go with this, and we'll talk about that as well. And that would be cool to open up that case study in months ahead. So thanks a lot, Ka, for joining us, and looking forward to hearing more and seeing more as you change this industry for sure.
Awesome, Wyatt. I appreciate your time and allowing me to join your podcast.
Thank you for calling Avoca Pest Control. This is Sarah. How may I help you today?
Hey, Sarah. I have these brown bugs that were crawling in my kitchen, and they scattered as soon as I turned on the lights, and they're like brown and flat. Do you know what they are?
So sorry to hear you're dealing with that. Sounds like you might have cockroaches. How long have you been seeing them?
Cockroaches? Oh no. How do you get rid of cockroaches?
We use a barrier approach to prevent them from entering your home. Would you like to book an appointment for an inspection?
Yeah, let's do that.
Great. Just need a bit of info to book it. What's your name?
My name is Bruce Lee.
Thanks, Bruce. Is Lee the correct spelling of your last name?
Yeah, that's it.
Perfect. What's the address where you need the service?
123 South High Street, New York, New York, 11101.
Got it. So 123 South High Street, New York, New York, 11101. Is that correct?
Yep, that's it.
Awesome. Your phone number is 614301503, right?
Yeah, how did you know that?
Caller ID, Bruce. What's your email?
I don't want to give it to you. I've got enough spam.
No worries, Bruce. Where in your kitchen I get it. Where in your kitchen are you seeing the cockroaches?
I'm seeing them, in my kitchen, and they're probably all over the house at this point.
Got it. How long have you been seeing them?
I've been seeing them for the past couple days.
All right. Is this a residential property?
Yes, it is.
Are you the owner of the property?
Yes, I am.
Great. What's the approximate square footage of your place?
About 2,000 square feet.
Thanks. Is this an emergency situation for you?
No, not an emergency.
All right. Would you like to book the appointment for the next business day or another day?
As soon as possible would be great.
All right. How about Monday morning?
Oh, that'll work.
Great. We've booked your service appointment for Monday morning, April 21st. An Avoca Pest Control live rep will contact you in the next 20 to 30 minutes with more details. Anything else I can help with?
Yeah, Sarah. How do you get rid of cockroaches?
We use a barrier approach to keep them out. Anything else you need?
Barrier approach. Is this going to be safe? I've got kids and dogs.
Yeah, it's safe for kids and pets. Anything else on your mind?
Yeah. Your voice is sexy. Are you single?
Thanks for the compliment, Bruce. I'm just a virtual assistant, so anything else I can help with?
Nope, that'll be it.
All right, Bruce. Have a great day.
That's a wrap on this episode of SwarmCast. Thanks for tuning in and arming yourself with the marketing firepower to keep your pest control business thriving. Before you scurry off, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode and leave us a review. It helps us spread like a well-placed bait station. Got a topic you want us to tackle? Drop us a line and let's keep the conversation buzzing. Until next time, stay sharp, stay strategic, and keep swarming the market.